Alright guys, this is your demonstration of 1-point perspective. So you can see this is what I did for another class. This is kind of what we're going to do today. So if I'm in my wonderful drawing program and I want to do a 1-point perspective, where is that point located, my friends? Anyone? Well, I just happen to have an answer for you here. That 1-point perspective, that 1 point is located on the horizon line. Horizon line is where the sky, that's the sky right there with little bitty clouds, little happy clouds right there. This right here is the ground, right? There's a line in between the sky and the ground where the sky meets the ground, right? So, the 1 point is always on your horizon line. It could be there. That could be my 1 point. I could also put my 1 point there, or there, or there. I could even put my 1 point there, or maybe possibly there, or 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 there. I could even put it there, and there. I could put it anywhere on that canvas or that piece of paper, right? I'm going to choose this one right here, or maybe I'll choose this one right here. No, I'll choose this one right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw myself a little bit of a grid, right? This works really well if you use a ruler, right, to get these lines nice and straight. I'm lazy, so I am just going to do these, right? I'm even do a 1 point radiating out into the sky, right? So, there is my perspective grid. I can even kind of do some vertical lines like this, right? I can do some horizontal lines like this. These will all be helpful lines for me to have on my canvas, right? So I'm going to put another layer on there, and I'm going to build my three-dimensional object on a two-dimensional surface because the paper only has width and height. And what are we trying to get in our drawings? What is the third dimension? Is there anybody there? Am I? Depth, exactly. You are the best person in the whole world. Yes, we need depth in our drawings. So if I go down to here, I'm going to get my brush a little bit bigger so that you can see that line. So I've got a vertical line and a horizontal line and a vertical line and a horizontal line. That's the front face of my building, right? That's the area that's facing us. And then if I go back with my perspective lines, I'm going to draw the building back in perspective. Like that, right? And I see just a tiny little bit of the top right there, right? So this right here is the side of my building, okay? So I'm going to cut that side of that building off right there. And that's going to be my vertical line. So this line is the back side of that line, right? So this is the front, and then my back is back here, right? So then same thing applies at the top of my building is here, right? And that's the front of the building. The back of the building would be right there. So that's a horizontal line. So this vertical line here and this horizontal line there are repeated right there and right there, right? If I look at a three-dimensional view of this, I would see that box come down like that, and like that in perspective, right? Like that. But I don't see that because it's behind. All I see is this, okay? So that is my three-dimensional simple box in perspective. And then the next thing I need to do is be like, okay, I'm going to add detail because buildings do not look like that, right? There's my sidewalk coming down from infinity, coming down and being like boom, boom. So then my sidewalk comes down like that, right? I did a little bit of wonkiness there. It comes out a little bit wider than that. Down like that, right? So these all come out. This is infinity back here, right? That's where the sky meets the ground. That's way, way, way out in the distance, right? So these lines come forward in perspective, and then the bricks of my sidewalk are going to be horizontal, like that, right? And they get closer and closer together as they go back. They get further and further apart as they come forward, like that, right? So if I wanted to add a little bit more detail to that, if I want to make it look more realistic, right, I could add a little lip to my sidewalk down like that, abiding by my points of perspective. That's not the best little line there. I'm just going to kind of sketch down there. And then if this comes out like this, the brick of the sidewalk ends there and comes down. Ends there, and then it becomes a vertical line there. Vertical line, vertical line, vertical line, boom, and I can go all the way back like that, right? Now this has become a more three-dimensional object, right? And I can do the same thing on the building. I want to add detail to my building. I don't want it just to be a blank square. So if I want to build, like, let's say a door in the middle of this area here, how do I find the middle of a square in perspective? Anyone? Because I want that door to be right in the middle somewhere here. How do I find the middle of a square? If I'm looking at a square like this, how do I find the middle? You go corner to corner, corner to corner. If you have a perfect square, that is the middle of your square, right? Same thing applies in perspective. If I go down from here to here, from here to here, that right there is the middle of my square. So my door has got to go right there, right? And then the top of the door comes out in that 1 point perspective. So there's my door, my lovely, lovely door like that, right? And then if I want to build windows, I'm like, okay, cool, horizontal, vertical lines. Whoa. Whoa. Horizontal, vertical lines to build windows on the front, right? If I want to do those same two windows on this side, I'm going to go here. And again, those lines come out in perspective, like that, right? So that's one window there. And then my other window is there in perspective, right? There and there, right? So windows don't necessarily look like that though, do they? They have more detail. So I could go in here and be like, okay, I got a funky window here. I want to do the inside of the window like that. And I could even kind of shade it in a little bit. Do the inside of the window like that, right? Where this kind of comes out. So it's got dimension to it. So this window kind of goes back in space like that. I could do the same thing with these guys right here. I would just see a little bit of that and a little bit of that. A little bit of, oop, not that. That was wrong. There and there. And I would get rid of some of those lines like that. And then if I wanted to bring, like, say I want a planter box on these guys, I'm going to bring this out, bring this up. This is a horizontal line like that, and then vertical, 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 like that. And then this line comes out in perspective, like that, and like that. This is horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical. And then I could go and erase some of those lines that I don't need. These are just measurement lines, so I can go back in, and I can erase them. I can erase some of these lines if I don't want them, right? I've got all these lines that I don't necessarily want anymore, and they're kind of, oh, excuse me, they're kind of confusing me, so I can go in and erase them. But right now, this is like it's not just two-dimensional. It doesn't just have length and width. Now this has depth because I've used those points of perspective in order to give it detail, right? Fun, right? Nobody's talking. All right, so there's a bunch of different details you can add to your building. Another thing I like to do is I'm like, okay, my door is about this tall, right? So if I bring that door down to here, in my one-point perspective, if I had a door exactly the same, that's what that would be, right? So how tall is a door? Anybody know? If you walk through a door, how much room is on the top? I'm about a little less than 6 foot tall, and I stand kind of like that indoors, right? If I'm standing inside of the door, there's room over my head, like there. Usually a door is about 8 feet tall, right? And usually your average ceiling is about 10 feet tall, right? So if I've got, okay, this is the ceiling, right? And then I've got my floor. This is about a 2-story building, right? So I can be like, I'm going to add some detail. I'm going to add some bricks right here. This is going to be like the middle of my 2 floors right here. This is going to go back in perspective. This is going to go back in perspective, get a little bit smaller as it goes back. And then I'm going to extend those lines past the edge of my building. Same thing, I extend those lines past the edge of my building because then I can do funky stuff like this where I'm like, okay, this comes out like that. And then I do a horizontal line back like that. And then I can erase this because I don't need this anymore. I'm going to erase a little bit. Oop, no, that's the wrong thing that I erased. I'm going to erase this like this. I might erase just a tad of that. Right? Bring that out. Bring this line kind of down. And then I'm doing perspective. And so this has a little bit of like brick going there. So this is a horizontal, vertical, like that. And again, I could do it a little bit cleaner than that. That looks a little bit sloppy, but this is just kind of a quick demonstration. Vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, and then this comes like this. Kind of back in perspective there. This would come back in perspective like this if I was going to build those bricks. Brick by brick. And again, this takes a little bit of concentration. This takes a little bit of what we call patience to be able to build some of those details on there. But once you kind of get those details built on there, it's going to look a lot better, right? It's going to look more realistic. So all the effort that you put in will return to you in the amount of detail and the better it's going to kind of look. So if you want to get better at any form of art, you want to get better at anything at all, practice is kind of the key, right? And this is still kind of a rough drawing. I would go in here maybe and try and clean a little bit of it up. That door looks really flat, so we could add a bunch of different stuff on there. I could go in here and add, like a little, what do they call those things? Those little like overhangy things, and I could add detail there. There could be little posts right there, right? I could add some detail here. I could go over here and add a little, like a tree in there that's kind of, and I could add stuff. I could add a little helicopter pad here with a little helicopter. Maybe the owner comes in, lands his little helicopter. That's a tiny little helicopter. So there's a tiny little guy maybe in there. Maybe that's a helicopter for elves up here. And he's got little elven helicopter pilots up here who are up here, and They do this, and they come and they deliver his baked goods, because this is a bakery, actually. It's a bakery, and all the bakery is made by tiny little elves in helicopters. All right, so there you go. That's a 1-point perspective. So try your best at it. Try and get that feeling of depth by creating a building in 1-point perspective. Woohoo!